So one of the theories I have about banks, financial advisors, businesses, and countries is that over this next decade, it's going to be much less about the products and the services and their offerings that they have, and more so about how open they are to embracing Bitcoin. I think that that's going to be the big difference maker here for the next decade. And those who fail, those who resist Bitcoin the most, are going to be the ones who fail. And so what this video is going to be titled, I'm looking for a new bank. And it's a new bank, it's a new financial advisor, and it's businesses to support. So this is more of a, YouTube's funny. YouTube's very funny. I could come out with the best video, the nicest thumbnail, the best title, best information. And if YouTube decides that it doesn't want to show anybody, then that's up to YouTube. So I'm very interested to see where this ends up. For the last couple of months, I've been helping people buy Bitcoin and more importantly, store their Bitcoin, how to protect it, how to make sure that this pristine asset that they hold today, they're going to be able to hold for the next 50 years. And that's a big difference between Bitcoin and literally anything else on earth that exists, is that Bitcoin for the next 50, 100, 500 years, if you do it properly, if you protect it properly, there's no leaks in that. Nobody has the ability to devalue it by creating more of it. Nobody has the ability to steal it from you if you secure it properly. And nobody has the ability to tell you that you can't use it. That's important, especially in the current environment. But also, you don't have to pay property tax on it. You don't have to pay an annual fee to store it. So this is something that's built to store your time and energy. Think of it like a battery. And that battery has zero leaks. Think of any other asset, whether it's real estate, you're paying property tax, you're paying insurance. There's a slew of environmental and external things that could happen. Those are leaks. That's something, if you put $1 million into real estate today, yes, it might go up in purchasing power, value over time and price, but you're also paying a lot. There's leaks in that, right? And so even if you think about gold, every time somebody finds a new ounce of gold, that devalues yours. If you want to store $1 billion worth of gold, you got to pay storage costs for that. You want to insure that gold, you got to pay insurance on that. And I'm sure insurance will be coming through Bitcoin. Just give it some time. But the point of this is that when you are looking to store it, protect it, Bitcoin will hold it for the next 500 years with zero leaks. So that's kind of the asset that we're talking about here. And people want access to this. They want to be able to convert their time and energy that they store in dollars into Bitcoin. And again, over these last couple months, I've had dozens of people reach out to me from all around the world, but especially here in Canada, saying, I don't know, Jor, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to buy Bitcoin. I'm trying to send money to Bitcoin Well, Bull Bitcoin, ShakePay, whoever. They're trying to send money to buy Bitcoin, but the banks are saying, sorry, this is fraudulent. This is suspicious activity. We got to investigate this. I had one guy who actually had to go into the branch to talk to somebody to say, you know what? Yes, I actually do want to convert my dollars into Bitcoin here. And they tried talking him out of it. So that's kind of where we are right now in terms of the current environment around the banking system and Bitcoin. And don't get me wrong. I don't think that Bitcoin is going to replace banks. I don't. That's not what it was designed to do. Contrary to popular belief, that's not what Bitcoin was designed to do. Bitcoin was designed to get rid of the central banks. That's a big difference. The credit union on your local corner, that's not who Bitcoin is going to replace here. It's the people who are responsible for printing money, issuing debt, adding zeros to our debt balance. That's what Bitcoin is going to replace. So I want to work with banks. And in the US, they just passed, or they rescinded it, I guess, where banks are actually able to custody Bitcoin now. So for the people who don't want the responsibility of holding their own keys and essentially holding their own asset, they can now trust the bank to do that for them in the US. It's not really fully rolled out yet, but it's coming. It was announced last week. So banks are going to be a part of this whole equation here. And so I am looking for a new bank, not necessarily for myself. My bank's been very cooperative with the whole thing. I haven't had any issues with the bank that I use, but I have had issues with people who are trying to buy Bitcoin. And there are certain banks that have been very bad with this. TD Bank is one of them. CIBC is another one, and Scotiabank. These three are the main ones that people come to me and say, they won't let me buy Bitcoin. So what do I do? So kind of what I'm suggesting here is, I don't know where this is going to end up, this video. I have no idea. But if you are a banker, or if you have any access to a banker in Canada, in the US, any parts of the world, I want you to reach out. And if you're going to be, I'm guessing you're not holding anybody's Bitcoin yet, but you will be someday if you're working at a bank. And I want you to get ahead of this. I want you to get ahead of this. So I want you to reach out to me and say, Jor, I saw the video. We want some business. We want people to be coming to our bank. We want to have people's deposits. We want to offer financial services to people. We want that business. They're going to get this Bitcoin either way. So you're either going to stand in the way of it, or you're going to help them do it. And the ones who help them do it are going to be the ones who are rewarded. Going back to my first theory here, in the sense that those who try to resist it are going to fail. The ones who embrace it are going to succeed. So if you want to be one of these banks that's open to Bitcoin, and I'm going to start with banks, but it's going to be a trickle down here, trickle down. But so if you're a bank, if you're a banker, if you're an employee of a bank, if you're a CEO of a bank, and you want business, you want Bitcoiners business, think about this pristine asset that they're holding, that you're probably going to be holding in a couple of years from now. You want these people to be working with you. And so again, I have all these people coming to me saying, I can't buy Bitcoin. I want to be able to direct them somewhere. So if you have any influence at a bank and you want this business, please reach out, because I'm more than happy to send you all of this business. And it's going to keep coming and coming and coming. And the more TD, Scotia, CIBC blocks that, the more business you're going to get. So that's for banks. That's my offer to you. And not that it's going to be like a huge thing. Like I have a relatively small channel here, but it's growing. And there's going to be more and more people who are in this position who are being said, no, you can't do that with your own money from other banks. So I want to direct them to you. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please reach out. And it's the same thing for financial advisors. And I get it. I really get it, because as a financial advisor, your ability to feed your kids and keep the lights on depends on fees on other people's investments. And when somebody says, hey, what about Bitcoin? The first thought into your head, if you're a human being, is going to be, if you move that capital out of your investment account and into Bitcoin, that's less fees coming to me. So I understand it's a very big dilemma that a lot of financial advisors are going to be put in these next couple of years as more and more people flock to Bitcoin. So for financial advisors, I want you to think about this the exact same way, in the sense that if you are going to resist it, if you're going to try to talk your clients out of it or tell them it's too volatile or too risky, they're just going to leave. And the harder you resist, the more people that are going to leave. So if you embrace it and you actually have an open conversation about Bitcoin, you actually take some time to learn yourself. And don't get me wrong, I work with a couple of financial advisors in my own area who are open to Bitcoin. But they can't serve everybody. They can't serve people in the US. They can't serve people in the UK. And also, sorry, I should say this too. I talked to an amazing guy in the UK who's been a financial advisor for 25 years. And he realizes what's going on here. And he took it upon himself to actually learn Bitcoin. He's one of my clients now. And we talk about Bitcoin. He's trying to educate himself so he can actually have good conversations with his clients. So if you are a financial advisor who wants to start making an impact here and wants to make a dent in this huge Bitcoin wave that's coming, it's best to start today. So just shoot me an email. Say, hey, Jor, I'm in Texas. Hey, Jor, I'm in England or the Philippines or wherever. I'm a financial advisor here. I want to work with Bitcoiners, and I will connect those for you. And so I don't know how many bankers watch YouTube, especially Bitcoin stuff on YouTube. So I don't expect this to make a huge splash. But if you are a Bitcoiner and you have a banker or financial advisor in your life, please send this to them, because this is important. As a Bitcoiner yourself, you should understand the importance of growing this network and how important it is for our society to have an honest, fair, transparent foundation like Bitcoin that we price things in, and that we can store our capital in, that we can store our time and energy in the greatest battery that has ever existed with zero leaks in it. And so probably for the next couple of years, just to go a little bit further into the financial advisory thing here, probably for the next couple of years, you're going to see a big transition where people are starting to buy the ETFs. People are looking into MicroStrategy, Bitcoin mining stuff. They're kind of making these requests right now, or they're pulling some out and they're buying Bitcoin themselves. So if you can get ahead of it, you're going to have their trust. And that's a big part. That's why they hold their money with you right now, is because they trust you. And if you're not willing to put in that work to understand Bitcoin and have good conversations, they're going to leave. It's never been easier to leave a bank, a company, or a financial advisor than it is today. So financial advisors should be worried about this right now. But I kind of see this whole industry evolving from like, okay, we're going to park your capital all in this fund here, some over here. This is the products we're selling. This is why it makes sense for you. You collecting a fee on that. It's going to move to like, okay, well, we can actually hold your Bitcoin for you. We can keep a key. You keep a key. Your lawyer keeps a key. And if we ever want to move anything out of there, we'll have to coordinate to do that. And you can charge a fee on that. That's where things are going to evolve to. And that's what this SAB 121 in the States is saying, that banks now have the ability to custody Bitcoin. So think about the deposits. When you're holding the best asset, the banks are going to want a lot of this asset, right? And so as a Bitcoiner, you're probably going to get a whole lot of preferred rates in the future because of that. Banks are going to want Bitcoin. It's the greatest capital that has ever existed before. And I'm going to end it here, but I'm going to tell you why it's the best capital that's ever existed before, because this is an important part of it. You might just say, you know what, this idiot on YouTube with a baseball cap and a hoodie, he's saying that Bitcoin's the best asset. It has no leaks. And all the banks are going to want it. You're going to get a preferred rate for doing it. Sounds crazy right now because that's where we are. But let me tell you why. I'm going to compare two things right now. I'm going to compare the current best asset that is used as collateral versus Bitcoin. And that's land. I live in the prairies here in Canada, and there's a bunch of farmland around me. And when a banker needs some, or when a farmer needs some money, they go to the banker and they say, here's some collateral. Here's a half section of land. I need a new truck, or I need a new combine, or a new tractor. They don't sell the land. They take out a loan against it. They use that as collateral, as their security on that loan, which is great. It is the best form of capital right now, by far. But if you think about it, and then you compare it to Bitcoin, and you say exact same thing. I got half a Bitcoin. I want to buy a new truck. I want to put a down payment on a house. Instead of selling my Bitcoin, I go to the bank and say, can I take a loan against this? This is my collateral. This is my security. It's Bitcoin. So let me compare the two quickly. So with land, again, land is the best form that exists right now of capital right now. There's a lot of reasons for that. One, scarcity. Two, it consistently goes up over time because of its scarcity. There's high demand for it. But think about this. Let's say I'm the guy who's coming to the bank looking for a loan, and I have land and I have Bitcoin. This is why Bitcoin's better, because number one, if we compare it to land in terms of the ability to sell it, the liquidity here. If I had to sell a piece of land, if I stopped making my payments on my loan and the bank had to sell my land because I stopped making my payments, think about the time that takes to do. Think about the people that are involved with that. It's a whole process. You have to get a realtor. You have to get a lawyer on both sides. You have to find a buyer. Most importantly, there's got to be somebody in this area who wants to buy that land in my local area here. So it's not very liquid. It's hard to sell. And if I stop making my payments one day, it's going to take a couple months probably to recoup that. The second thing is that there's no real, we have an idea of like what the value is based on comparatives in the area, but there's no way to see the actual value of that land today. And again, you're going to have to find a buyer for that. So you're probably not going to get exactly what it's worth, what it's valued at, for the most part, right? Pristine farmland, that's a little bit different story. There's usually people lined up to buy it. Happens pretty fast. There's a value for it. Yes. But for most lots, for most lands, for most everything that's used as collateral, it takes time. And it's very hard to verify the fact that that's the value of it today. And that's what I can turn around tomorrow and get. Whereas with Bitcoin, let's compare both those two things, liquidity and value of it. Liquidity, if I had a loan against my Bitcoin and I decided I was going to stop making my payments, the bank could actually take some of my Bitcoin based on my payment. They don't have to sell they don't have to sell the whole piece of land. they can just take some of my Bitcoin and sell it and make my loan payment for me. And they can do that in 2 minutes. And they can do that. There's a worldwide global market who's willing to buy that Bitcoin in 2 minutes. That's sold. My payment's made. Next month, we'll hope for a better result. Plus, if they want to see the value of it, they could easily go on to one of hundreds or thousands of exchanges to see what the value is today. So whether I'm restructuring things, whether I'm coming up with a net worth statement, whatever it is, whether they're trying to find a value for it, they can do that in 5 seconds at the bank. They go to the website, they look what Bitcoin's worth today, they look how much you have. That's what your value is. That's what you're securing here. So those are kind of at face value why Bitcoin will be the best form of capital in the future. And the faster that banks understand this and the more welcome they are to embracing it and understanding what's happening here, the better they're going to be. Because there's a whole lot of Bitcoiners out there and growing every single day who need access to these services, who still have a mortgage, who still have a car loan, who still do bank within the system still, but also want to hold this piece of asset or this asset called Bitcoin. So that's kind of my call to both bankers and financial advisors. If you're willing to this, if you're open to it, I want to send you a whole bunch of business over these next couple of years. So just take a little bit of time, try to understand Bitcoin. If you want to set up a call with me, you can. That's not what I'm doing this for, though. I want you to be open to Bitcoiners because there's a lot of business that's sitting on the sidelines right now, and there's a lot more business that's going to be coming in the next couple of years. So if you are proactive with this, if you kind of get ahead of it, it's going to pay significant dividends in the future. And the last thing I'll say is that if I made this video a year ago, it would be much different. Because a year ago, Larry Fink wasn't on CNBC talking about Bitcoin. A year ago, the most influential person on the planet, the most influential country on the planet, they weren't talking about Bitcoin. But fast forward to today, you have the BlackRock, the biggest financial institution in the world. They're buying Bitcoin. Their clients are buying Bitcoin. Why? Why? Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, he's talking about buying Bitcoin as a strategic reserve for the country. Why? It's probably something there. And as Satoshi Nakamoto once said, you might want to get a little bit just in case it catches on. And I feel like that's the case here. We're past the point of like this being a real risky asset. It's embraced by the mainstream. It's embraced by the Larry Finks, the Jamie Dimons, the Donald Trumps. This thing's mainstream now. And it's only a matter of time till this thing really explodes and becomes mainstream. And if you can take a little bit of a risk here now, it's much less of a risk, but a little risk, embrace it. You're going to do very well for yourself, for your family, and for your clients. So that's all I got for you today. Again, if you're a banker, reach out. If you're somebody who knows a banker, send this to them. And I want to hear from you. Let me know where you work, what country, state you're in, and I'll start sending you some business. So I hope you're having a great hump day today. And thanks for listening to this. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.